did. Karen,
Brian!
how are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Amazing, amazing. And I am super excited because we have the esteemed Chris Lazarus,
Better
better
known.
known as Dread Indian, all the
I
way from
know.
Mumbai.
I know. How cool is this? I love that Loctalk has become such an international name that everybody around the world, we're talking locks globally. And now we have tapped India. This is great. So let's welcome Dread Indian. Hi.
Hey, is the camera on? Is it on me right now? Because I was scratching a lot of places which I don't want to show on cam.
No,
Oh, cool. Thank God.
but we want you to be authentic. So,
I start scratching? Okay. I'll stop using the F word. So, anyways, I would like to know your names individually, although, okay, Karen and Brian.
Brian, yeah.
For some reason,
So,
whenever I write Brian, so I was chatting with Karen before, and
yeah.
I told her, I don't know, something, and I was like, something Brian, but I said no brain. So I ended up saying there's no brain in the podcast. Say there's
That's
no
right,
Brian
no
in the
brain.
podcast. Yeah.
Well,
So now
that's
like, oh shit,
interesting.
she'll take it totally wrongly. And now is the time when everybody gets offended by anything. So she'll be like, how did she say no brain in my podcast? Asked a
Well,
message from her.
Sometimes it's gone missing.
if anyone is
A and
gonna,
I.
if anyone's gonna misspell my name though, it's always Brain.
Yeah, right? See, it happens.
So I'm used to that. And
That's
it does.
Brian Storm.
So Chris, Dread Indian,
Yes,
how
that's
are
the
you?
name I have.
How is Mumbai?
Mumbai is getting hot, to be honest. So technically, this is like the exit of our winter, which I mean, it's not winter exactly. It's just our minimum temperatures in Mumbai is like 14 to 15 degrees, which is, I think, summer for you guys. Yeah.
Spring.
Yeah,
You guys are based in Toronto, right?
It can get up to about 30 degrees.
30. Okay. But still, so right now it's the summers are seeping in. So by the end of the podcast, I'll just melt down. I'll not even breathe. But it's cool. I mean, it's home. I can't complain about it. It's where I have grown up, and I'm sure I'll even die over here. So
Have you always lived in India?
yes, all my life, all my 30. Let's not talk about age, but yeah.
Okay.
The funny
Well,
part about age is that when you're in your 20s, you want to like, tell people that you're 20s, but when you cross 30s, you're like, forget it.
yeah, it's true.
I brag about my age, honey, and I got some years on you, and Brian has some years on me, but we've talked about this in other episodes. But
Let's end the discussion. I'm 32. Next.
Age is just a state of mind. It doesn't really mean anything, right?
no, but it's a badge of honor. I'll be 44 next month.
Okay, there she goes. She's done it.
You look
Now we all have
43
to
and
celebrate.
8 months.
What's that?
Sorry. You said you look 44. And then I said, no, you don't look 44. You look 43 and 8 months, which is actually bad. But yeah.
Well, I'm going to be 62.
In dog years.
Yeah.
But you guys both look like in your 30s. So,
Thank you.
So all totally, and the young
weather.
attitude and the young energy is coming across.
You know what? It's the cold. It's preserving us.
That's true. Yeah.
Cryogenicides.
Yeah. Canada really helps on that level.
So you're in your 30s. How long have you had your dreadlocks?
So 32 to be precise, that's my age, and I've had my dreads for at least half my lifetime. So I've had them for like 16 years and 7 months on the 14th.
Wow.
Do you celebrate?
No, I mean, I just remember because when people ask me how long have you had your dreads, I'm like 16 years, and then I look at my watch, and then I'm like 7 months and 4 days and 8 hours, and then they're like, okay, forget it. You know you're bragging.
Because you get asked every day.
Yeah, I mean, more often than not, people think I have stuck it. They think it's artificial, and I don't blame them because the first time I saw dreads ever on somebody, I asked that guy, is this like, have you like stuck it or have you stitched it to your hair? Because dreads was not a thing when I was in college at least or in school, except for I mean, seen Bob Marley, and then Later on, when I started listening to heavy metal and I saw POD and Lenny Kravitz and
Corn.
Brian Fair, not Brain Fair, but Brian Fair from Shadows Fall, Korn, and all these guys with dreads. Then you start. Okay, as a kid, I thought that dreadlocks is something that only African people can have. I thought that's how their hair grew.
Yeah.
Like I legit asked one senior guy that why do Africans have this hair? And he's like, it's the weather, so their hair grows like this. And that's a very stupid answer to give to a young child because a young child will accept anything that a man with a mustache says.
Right. You know.
I grew older. I'm like, that guy was stupid. No wonder he used to train dogs. But anyways, the dogs don't listen to him. So yeah, 16 years and 7 months. And yeah, for each of these 16 years, each day of these 16 years and 7 months, my mom has kept saying the same thing. Cut your hair, cut your hair, cut your hair. Even today, just
Hey.
before, I told her I'm having this interview with these guys from Canada. And she's like, why don't you cut your hair for the interview? You look nice. I said, Mama, the interview is about dreads. If I cut the dreads, the interview doesn't exist. And I'm sure you guys face the same thing, the same problem, right? Not problem, but the same care and concern. Like old school parents, they don't want their kids to act weird, I would say. They just want them to be
Yes, exactly.
like the Jimmy Fallon or the Conan O'Brien, the clean, the Elvis Presley haircut.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. They have
an interesting perspective because I think it really just depends on the environment that you grow up in and who your parents are, you know, who your caregivers are, who your peers are. You know, yeah, my parents would kind of roll their eyes at me when I'd come home with strange hair. This is my second set of dreadlocks. And I didn't start my first set until I was in my late 20s. Prior to that, I mean, I've pretty much had short hair with blue, pink, purple, green, you name any color. And you know, my mom would be like, if I didn't see her for 3 or 4 months and then I'd meet up with her in like a public space and she's like, I don't know what she looks like. Uh-oh. But I've had this hair now for a few years, so there's consistency.
When was the last time you met your mom? Sorry to interrupt you. When was the last time you met your mother?
Well, we see each other on video now because of COVID.
Okay, so then she knows how you look.
Yes. But she did run into me at a Home Depot and she's like, I don't, she like went to put her hand on someone else's shoulder. But that's besides the point. I feel like, to your point, yes, parents sometimes can put their own preferences and their own viewpoints onto their children.
Most of their dreams.
Their dreams, okay.
Yeah, what they couldn't live, they try to, you know, make their kid live. Because they often, they do that, right? They're like, okay, I didn't have maybe all their amenities in my life, so let's give that to my child. Right. Also, at the same time, I made these mistakes back in the day, so let not him do the same, or let not her do the same. Right. When I got my...
Sorry, yeah, also, success looks a certain way to that generation, right? Yes. And also being a brown person, I mean, you're in India, you've only lived in India, but I've lived all over, you know, different parts of the world. And being brown is one thing already that you have to sort of, it's like a hurdle that you have to kind of deal with. And so to go and do something like this, I mean, my mom too, she's kind of gotten used to it, but at first it was like, oh my God, cut your hair, like do something.
Yeah, because I don't know, I think I'm sure they associate dreads or even long hair with just somebody who's not going to be interested in school and college and education. And I was the one of those kids who was like the class topper. So I used to like get the good grades. I excelled in my school. And so they expected me to become a doctor, but I became a doctor, or not of medicine, but of laughter eventually. But yeah, laughter is the best medicine. So that's something she doesn't understand.
That's a great segue in what I wanted to ask next, which is, how did you get into comedy?
My mom's funny, my dad's funny. So it just, you inherit that. But actually how I got into comedy was, okay, so see what happens is, a long time back, someone asked me when I started comedy, they're like, you know, Chris, how did you get into comedy? Like, are there any workshops? And I'm like, duh, it's either you're funny or you're not. Yeah, it's just like that. It's like good looks. It's something that you inherit from either your family or the upbringing that you have been in. So you pick up that, right? I mean, the skill gets better.
Yes, the skill gets better. Exactly. So I would kind of disagree in that I think people can learn to be funny, but there are people that are naturally funny from
Exactly.
the
Yeah. See,
get-go.
there's improv and all that. See, there are different kinds of comedians. There's a writer who will write his jokes and will say the same things on stage. But if you kind of cross question him, he'll be like, "Oh shit, I didn't write that." But another funny guy will go off his script and will just
Yeah.
bludgeon that person for interrupting or heckling him.
Yeah.
That's if Brian is asking for that kind of comedy. So yeah, so I think the person who asked me also was asking the same thing, and I said, see, it's a natural gift, which I believe all the funny guys around me and the comedians that I share the stage with, they know it, that they have been given this gift of they know a joke is funny, and they go on stage with that confidence. You know that when you see the person. So you go on stage with knowing that you have the power to make people laugh, and it's your duty. I believe it's my purpose to make people laugh.
That's your calling.
Yes, that is my calling. That is my life. That's the reason I'm here. And I used to do it back in the day. Okay, the first ever joke that I ever did, which I have knowledge of, was I was at church, and I think I don't know how old, but I was quite short. I think I was knee length, knee height, knee height of. Look, I remember seeing the person from that height. And there's something called peace be with you, which I'm sure you guys know. In church, you need to give peace to the person on the right and the left. So everyone was doing peace be with you, so I did peace be with you to the lady on the left. And since I'm a tiny man and I did it, she started laughing. I'm like, wow, I did it again. She laughed more. I kept doing it again and again, and she was laughing. I'm like, wow, this is great. My father holds my ears. He's like, look at you. I'm like, oh shit. So I think it's the laughter that kind of energizes me to keep doing more. It's like my oxygen. So that, and in addition to the fact that my parents, my whole family, not even my dad and mom, my dad's side, my mom's side, like if these guys, if my family was given a proper backing or proper instructions right from day one, I'm sure all of them would be comedians. It's just that they have had different struggles which have not allowed them be, not struggles exactly. It's just the general way of life, family, children. So they had to focus on that. I, by God's grace, have been given a good job and a good family and everything that allowed me to focus on comedy while doing my 9 to 5 or my 9 to 6 or my 9 to 7. Sometimes it was 9 to 9 as well. But yeah.
When you're not in Goa.
Sorry?
When you're not in Goa.
It's not that I always go to Goa. The Goa happens because it's on the week. It's just like an hour away by flight. And I generally happen to go there like 9 times a year. So yeah.
But I want to go back a bit, because when you mentioned how, again,
but I'm so sorry. I didn't answer his question. Eventually, I just lose track when I keep talking. So that person asked me the question and whatever, and I've got this gift of humor from my family. But how I entered stand-up comedy was I used to keep watching The Tonight Show and a lot of other things, Seinfeld, Tim Allen, Home Improvement, and you see these guys and Johnny Carson and Jay Leno, and you see these guys and you're like, wait a second, I can do it better than them. It's just that I need to go to that stage and try my luck and stuff. Because whenever Jay Leno used to crack a joke on The Tonight Show back in the day, I used to always one up him in my head. So, anyways, it was only me who used to laugh at that. And then eventually, when I started working at the music TV channel that I currently am at, there was one guy who went for an open mic. And he told me, Chris, I'm going for an open mic of comedy. And I'm like, oh, wait, this makes sense. Comedy open mic. I've seen this. Let me just come and see what this is. And I went for the open mic and everybody was shit. Everybody was shit. And the guy who was the owner of the comedy club, he was standing beside me, obviously because I had dreads, talking to me, general questions and all. And then I told him, brother, these guys are shit. Then he's like, why don't you go and perform? And he pushed me literally on stage. Because it was not a stage exactly. It was a ground level thing. So it was a small room, like around 30 people. So he pushed me and I went right into the limelight. And then I was like, shit, okay, let's talk about dreads. And then I just started talking about the jokes that have happened to me in my real life about having dreads and stuff. And people were going crazy. And I'm like, wow, this is great. Like generally I should just narrate these jokes to like 5 people. So yeah, so Brian, what got me into comedy would be my dreads, if you think of it.
Wow.
That's what gave me the power to kind of realize, oh, I can do this in front of 30 strangers as well and get much better laughs.
Yeah. Well, it's incredible. I've watched some of your stand-up, and you talk about having that confidence. You walk out there and holy smokes, it's like you just own it right from the beginning. Excellent. It's so good to see.
But I mean, yeah, okay. They don't have the mic. I have the mic. So even if they say anything, nobody can hear that.
Yeah. One of my favorites is Joan Rivers. Have you ever...
Yes. I mean, obviously, since I know Johnny Carson, so Joan Rivers. I've not seen her sets, but I've seen her as a guest on Johnny Carson. So I know she's quite fast.
Well, there's a film that you have to see.
Okay.
Oh shoot, what's the name of it? If you Google her, it'll come up, and it's really a very intimate and very touching and very real performance, and really a life journey. It follows her over a span of time.
Oh, it's a documentary?
Sorry?
Is it a documentary you're saying? Or is
yeah,
it like
a documentary.
Okay.
And it's absolutely incredible. You would love it. So you have to really try and find it.
Okay. Have you heard of Don Rickles?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've been following Don Rickles for like donkey's years, you know, just because he got the Johnny Carson award the last time, I think 10 years back. And that's when I'm like, who is this guy? Let me check him out. And I realized my style of comedy is very similar to his. Okay. Even he does insult, but insult in a way that the crowd laughs, and the person who's been insulted also knows it's just for comedy pleasure and not for pure humiliation.
Cool.
Right.
So it's done just for entertainment, and I see a lot of myself in him, except for the fact that he's bald. But yeah,
the opposite, literally the opposite.
And then short, but yeah.
I love that the segue of your dreads went into comedy, and it's part of your identity. It's part of how people recognize you. It's a huge part, right? And as you said, you know,
otherwise I'm just, yeah.
What if you cut them off, right? Your mother and father are saying, cut your dreads, and
there goes your career.
I mean, I do other sets as well, other than, but dreads gets you the eyeballs. It gets you the eyeballs, but then that's only the first 10 seconds.
That's
other
right.
than that, you need to talk.
That's right. And so that's what I was going to say was, you know, dreads are part of a chapter of life, right? Not everybody will have them for the entire time that they're on the planet. And,
exactly.
and many times they come back to them. They're called back to them. So, you know, 16 years is definitely a huge chunk of your life.
Yeah.
And
half of my life.
Right? Do you see yourself ever? Does it even occur to you to even like cut them shorter or cut them off?
I've trimmed them by 6 inches thrice.
Yeah.
That's because they started touching the floor around 3 years back. So every year, my brother does this periodic cutting of my dreads. He sits down on the floor, and I just stand still, and he, you know, cuts it in level. And then an entire bag gets filled, like a plastic bag, and that might weigh around 300 to 400 grams. And I show my mom, and she's like, "You cut all of them?" I'm like, "No."
You need to do a video of that. You need to film that. That would be super cool.
It's too painful for me to show the fact that I'm cutting my hair. Yeah, I mean, when you have your dreads for so long, it is like it's part of your body, and it is part of your body. I mean, come on, it's growing for me. So I don't want to show that it's okay. Like I put it out on the story where I'm cutting one, but I can't show the entire process. It's very
and this is a conversation that a lot of people are having. You know, whether or not it's appropriate to trim your locks, whether or not it's, you know, against your spirit, you know, it's your spirituality or what have you, and at the end of the day, it's a compromise, right? It's like, what, just because you trim the bottoms doesn't make you any less committed. It does, and in fact, to me, it makes you more committed because you're taking care of them.
Yeah, and you want to keep them, and you are trimming them maybe because you're having some kind of inconvenience. In my case, it was touching the floor, and it was either that or die on the stairs. Because if I trip on them, they'll not know that I've been dead for the past 2 days until the smell spreads in the corridor. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was either that or life.
Do you swim?
I avoid swimming. because what happens is then the hair gets wet, and then it is the entire procedure of drying them. So the last time that I went to swim, I kind of tied the hair on top, but uh, that was long ago because right now it's too heavy.
Yeah.
Do you
So
miss
tying
swimming?
them on top, yeah. So tying them on, I can maybe go in a swimming pool that has like maybe chest high water, but I can't go like and swim and do like Michael Phelps kind of stuff. That's sorry. No
Well,
way.
Chris, we have to turn you on to Noggin Oil, and we're going to break quickly for a commercial. So hang on, we'll be right back.
Okay.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Oh, my noggin is sore. Oh, I just had my braids done. Yeah, she killed my noggin. Girl, you need some noggin oil to soothe that. Bingo, bingo, ding, 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 ding. The
Put
noggin oil replenish and chill. This is what she want me to put on your scalp. Replenish and chill. Replenish and chill. Noggin oil. It smells really good. Applying the noggin oil to the noggin. How about that? Noggin oil is good for the summertime. Right? Noggin oil would be good for the summertime humidity. Right? Keeping that scalp oil that moisturize and cool. It'll keep your scalp cool so that you don't feel so hot. If you have braids, locks, twists, or even an afro, it will keep that hair, that scalp refreshed and feeling cool for the summertime. How's your noggin feeling? Much better. Yay, noggin oil. Made his noggin feel a little better.
And we're back. Okay, so what are we talking about? We were talking about swimming. We were talking about, trimming your locks. I want to take it back one step to the beginning. You said something that really caught my interest, and that was your perception of dreads being African. And the history tells us that in India, it goes so far back in history with the sadhus. Can you tell me anything like you knew about the sadhus?
Yes, but then I know very well that the sadhus in India have this kind of hair because, or dreads, as I know that they are being called the past so many years, because they don't wash their hair. And they just palm roll their hair and they put ash in their hair. So from the kind of knowledge that I have, I'm a Catholic myself, so I don't have much knowledge about sadhus. But there are these guys are devotees of Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva was known to have dreads. So as a reverence, they have given up everything in life and all the pleasures, and they're living a very simple life. And that's the reason I think same like Rastafarian, you just give up all. You don't. That's the reason they don't cut their hair. I guess that's the thing. So these guys also, but in addition to that, they also add ash, and then there are aghoris as well, who are the cannibalistic or the cannibal sadhus, which again I don't have a lot of knowledge on, but they also have dreads. So there are different kinds of sadhus that exist in India. And yes, I had seen them having dreads, but I knew how they have dreads or why they have that. Because compared to, okay, except for Bob Marley's dreads, the other dreads that you see on television, okay, I saw dreadlocks on Keenan and Kel. You remember Keenan and Kel? Nickelodeon?
No.
Is it a cartoon?
No, it's a TV show. Keenan and Kel. There were these two kids, and they used to.
No, Nickelodeon. We're a little bit older. I didn't really see that.
So that guy had normal hair, and then suddenly from maybe 5 episodes later, he had like such tiny clean dreads. Like it looked like they were custom made. It looked like a mop. Like, okay, he had short hair, and then his hair grew like this. Maybe all Africans have that. Maybe that's how their hair grows. That's why you don't see a lot of African people with big hair. And then when I was thinking, I'm like, okay, Mike Tyson is bald. This person is bald. Okay, they don't grow their hair because eventually it will become like this. So they just kind of avoid growing it because it's too much maintenance. A lot of misconceptions as a kid. Then when you grow older, you realize that they just have a type C or type, I mean,
they have a tighter hair curl pattern. That's right. Yeah.
The thick hair, which eventually is twisted and turned and made into dreads in a different method, whereas the Caucasian hair requires backcombing and crocheting.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what I realized later. But yeah, I mean, yes, I had seen the sadhus having dreads, but I knew the difference. But for some reason, as that guy with the mustache told me, he told me that that's the weather. That's the reason they have such hair. I'm like, okay, makes sense. And then you see certain African tribes, right? They have, these squares and they tie their afro. And you see squares, which kind of look like dreads that are just growing. So then all these pictures put together, Mike Tyson's bald head, then that African tribe with small squares and a little afro popping out, but section squares. And then you see Keenan with a little, longer dreads. And then you see Whoopi Goldberg with like really neat dreads. You're like, okay, African people have natural hair. That's how their hair grows. Our hair grows in single strands. These guys have like just 60 strands together.
Yeah. So then when you started your lock journey, what techniques did you use or how did that start? Because your hair is a straighter texture.
A little curly and a little bushy. So when I again, this was like 16 years and 7 months ago. Nobody, the only person in Bombay who I knew had dreads, got it done from his girlfriend. And they also just, they just practiced and did something. So I was in college at that time. So I went to this tattoo studio because I assumed that the tattoo parlor guy, which was the most famous tattoo parlor in Mumbai, would know something about dreads. So I went to him and I told him, and I had done 17 piercings from him. A bridge piercing, a septum, spikes, industrial. I was a crazy guy back in the day.
I wonder if his parents wanted him to have those.
No, I'm talking about myself.
I know, but maybe his parents didn't want him to have piercings. Anyways, go on.
Lost track with it. Let me laugh. Okay. So since I had given him so much of business, we kind of developed a good friendship. So I asked him, brother, I need to make dreads. Do you know anyone? He's like, yeah, man, I know this guy from Africa. I'm like, hey, Africa, great. He'll make my dreads. And his name is Chris. I'm like, oh, wow. I'm Chris. He's Chris. I mean, that guy will definitely not cheat me. A Chris can't cheat a Chris. So then this African dude comes into the parlor and, he puts on this nice reggae music, gives a good feel, sections my hair and ends up putting egg in my hair.
Oh.
Twisting the hair, doing this nice dance, like he's jiving with my hair. And so I'm like, okay, he's enjoying himself. And then he puts egg and then 3 days later, he calls me back to the parlor, puts shoe polish. Then he tells me, can you get some ganja? I'm like, what the hell is happening over here? And it didn't look like dress because when you take like normal Caucasian hair, even if you take like a thick section and you put like a liquid or you just put like wax, Dax wax or some sticky substance and you twist it, it will not be dreads compared to what Lenny Kravitz's dreads are or whatever I had seen before and wanted to. So I was like, this is not dreads, but okay, maybe they thicken up like a cake.
Well, like a fine wine that gets better with age.
Maybe that's what happens because you hear of all these. And at that time, back in the day, the only website that gave us knowledge about dreadlocks was Dreadhead HQ.
Yep.
So I used to, and it was, like one of those old websites. I don't know whether they still exist. So you go on the websites and you see pictures and everybody has like thick dreads and you're like, okay, mine doesn't look like this, but maybe it will fluff up the egg and boot polish or shoe polish, not boot polish. Shoe polish together might have a chemical reaction and I never knew. But after a month, when my friends and that guy Chris told me, don't wash your hair. So I put a tam, a tam? Yeah, I put a tam, right? Or no, that's a tube hat. So I put a tam and so I get confused between tube hat and tam. I put a tam and that's how I used to go to college every day. I never washed my hair for a month. And then my close friends told me, Chris, your hair is smelling. I'm like, okay. Then I go to the guy and I actually wait, I don't go to the guy. I just remove everything off. I wash my hair, I comb everything out.
Wow.
And then I go to the tattoo guy. I'm like, dude, not done. This is not dreads. These guys have taken the money and, then he told me, okay, I'll tell you what, brother, I'll make dreads for you. So he never knew how to make dreads. But he's like, since I've taken, you have trust in me, I'll just get it done. So he sectioned my hair And he started backcombing, and he saw some videos on YouTube. So basically, my dreads were going to be shit. By God's grace, there were these two Thai guys who were also working in the tattoo studio, and they used to live with him. And they were looking at this tattoo parlor guy, the guy who did my piercings and who was doing my dreads for the first time, called me to his home to do it. And these Thai guys used to live with him. So they kept looking, and they realized this guy is doing a shoddy job. So they just told him, brother, get side. And these two Thai guys, they started working on my hair. And by God, the dreads that they made was so tight that even when I cut the first time, they were still intact. It looked like a candle. Nothing came out.
Wow.
The way they made it, I don't know. They got fed up and they did it, but they did it really well. My hair was waist length and it came up to my shoulder.
Wow.
That's how much they kind of cramped it together. So the dreads are quite thick. And then obviously if you backcomb it well and you crochet it well right at the root, the growth also is even, and I have thick hair as well. So everything put together, the dreads came out well.
Amazing. Did they actually have dreads themselves?
No, they had straight hair. But I think Thailand is known for artificial dreads. You've seen those guys, right? Who sell artificial dreads. They sell it at stores. So they know the procedure. They knew what to do.
And that's the most incredible part. When I started in the industry, somebody came in and they said, do you crochet rewrap? And I was like, no, but that's brilliant. I misunderstood him. When he said crochet back then, that terminology actually meant interlocking. The two terms were interchangeable. Okay. But when I heard crochet as a regular hairstylist, old school hairstylist, I was taught how to do highlights with a cap, pulling the hair through with a very small crochet hook. Okay. So I had a crochet hook in my kit. And I thought, okay, that makes sense. You take the hook and you're pulling hairs. You're wrapping it around and pulling it through. So that was the first time I had ever experimented with matting the hair together in order to create a maintenance for dreadlocks. Meanwhile, this had been going on for however long over in Thailand, where people are on the streets literally just jabbing the hair with hooks and getting the hair.
Yeah. They're just doing that.
Yeah. It's crazy. And without the internet, how would you know?
Exactly.
Unless you went there.
True. So by God's grace, those guys were there at the right time. They made the dreads. Otherwise, this tattoo guy or the piercing guy would have, sorry to say, but fucked it up. And then eventually, which happens to a lot of people who don't know where to get dreads from, and they go to the wrong person. They grow their hair for 3 years, shoulder length, and then the guy fucks it up. They eventually have to shave their head bald and then just lose interest. And maybe that is the time they grow their hair is maybe their college time. And so the reason I made dreads was because I graduated in chemistry. So I assumed that eventually after finishing my graduation, I would become a chemist. I would eventually be a pharmacist. So I was like, okay, let's just have fun. Let's just make dreads and let's enjoy our life. So that's the reason maybe people who have dreads also, maybe they think it's a short-term thing. I saw it as a short-term thing. Definitely not short-term, because my career choices and everything that I'm doing and now eventually comedy full-time is dreads. Is dread Indian. So yeah.
Amazing.
Wow. Oh man, we have so many more questions, but I don't know how long. I feel like we're kind of running short. Maybe a couple of more questions because. Go ahead, Brian.
Dying to find out about Goa. I have always wanted to go to Goa. And on another personal note, my grandfather, so my mom's dad, was actually from Ceylon. He was born in Ceylon, which is now known as Sri Lanka.
Oh, okay. I know. Salon. I thought he was in a hair salon. Otherwise, he's talking.
Sri Lanka was called before.
Oh, really? I never knew that.
And so I have Indian blood coursing through my body, and it's pulling me to Goa. One day,
you should
travel again.
Goa is quite cheap, to be honest. I mean, for Canadians also, I think that your dollar would be equivalent to, I think, 55 rupees over here. So I mean, everything is quite cheap. That's the reason most of the Europeans and the Russians and everybody comes to Goa, because things are cheap, and it's a beach state. So there are just beaches upon beaches upon beaches. So in addition to that, there's party life, there's psytrance, there's also reggae that has seeped in the past few years. The hippie life, as we know, originated over there. Because Yeah, Beatles and everyone came over there. That became famous. Then Goa Gill. So that brought a lot of attention to Goa. And what happens is when travelers come to Goa and then they go back to their country, they post pictures, they tell that to their friends, then more travelers come. So everybody is just so excited with Goa. Like someone said, Goa is a state of mind, and it is because it's a nice, happy environment. And Goa was controlled would be the right word. Yeah, owned by the Portuguese, just like the whole of India was
Oh,
under.
colonized by the Portuguese, right? Okay. There's a history there.
Yes, Great Britain owned a major chunk of India, but Goa was under the Portuguese rule. So a lot of Portuguese tradition and culture has been passed on over there.
Mm-hmm.
So even Konkani, the language that they speak over there, is a mixture of I think to some extent your local language of the state adjoining Goa, which is Maharashtra, and a little bit of Portuguese. So like we have chorizo, which I think is also Portuguese,
Mm-hmm.
which is pork sausages. So a lot of other words that are here there. The churches, the population that majorly lives there is Catholic. You'll have a lot of Catholic churches. It's a very Catholic place.
Okay.
And
Which
a very chill
do
place.
you get a lot of stereotypes because of having the dreads? People assume that you have a different religion or that you know
Or
have.
Rastafarian, for instance.
Sorry?
No, there's no Rastafarian is not. Nobody knows about Rastafarian in India. They just think I'm a sadhu.
Oh,
Yes.
They think I am Lord Shiva's devotee,
Yeah.
and for some reason Indians are very God fearing. So they think that I have the power to curse or bless them. Because most of these sadhus who have devoted their life to Lord Shiva and they are living this life of away from all the pleasures, they kind of people assume that they have the power to bless and curse.
Mm-hmm.
So once I just got out of the taxi right outside my workplace, and this driver just came out and he touched my feet. He was trying to take blessings from me, and I was looking at him like, what the hell?
wow.
So, and the security guard of my office building was looking at me and laughing because he knows me. He knows I'm not a sadhu. So I look at him like, oh shit, oh shit.
Wow.
I can't break his faith, right? And I can't even explain to him, okay, let me explain to you what happened to me. So Chris met me 10 years back and he made dreads with all, I couldn't tell him the whole story that dreadlocks is, I made dreads because I listened to heavy metal. So I just said, God bless you to him. And I don't know, he must have gone home and sorry to say, fucked his wife. Because they normally take blessings from sadhus to get kids. They normally go to sadhus to get either good health or wealth or just have a kid.
Yeah.
You must have gone home and must have been like, oh, you know what? This sadhu with like ankle length dress bless me. You for sure are going to have twins.
Amazing. So do they have heavy metal in Goa?
No. Goa is dominated by psychedelic trance and reggae recently, and other forms of music as well. But psychedelic trance is everywhere.
Yeah.
High trance is Goa.
So Karen, we have to do our next Noggin Oil event in Goa with Chris, because
yes,
literally I have like 1,000 more questions, and I wish we had more time to talk because
Let's do this in Goa then.
Sorry?
I said let's do this in Goa. The remaining questions that you have.
Yes, when we're traveling finally again after COVID, we are so coming there to hang
proper
out.
Blog and stuff.
I want to ask one question that I'm sure you also have been asked many times. Your brand, Dread Indian.
Yes.
You are that identity, and can you elaborate? Like, that's just what people called you, or you're just like, this is what I am, who I am?
So see, what happened was, I mean, this Dread Indian thing started like around 9 years back. So I, when I had dreads, I used to just post pictures on dreadlock groups on Facebook. And I used to get a lot of appreciation. A lot of people used to tell me that you have a great smile. So I was like, okay. And then I was like, these dread groups are just posting pictures of people with dreads. Why not create another page on Facebook, which, and I had a lot of, from at least 3,000 friends on Facebook. I had like 300 to 400 people with dreadlocks from all over the world. So I told all these friends, I'll post you guys on this new page called Dreads Rule. on Facebook, and I'll give you shout outs, and then other people can come on board and stuff. And that's how I started Dreads Rule, which is still on Facebook, but it's more active on Instagram now with like 56,000 followers and stuff, where I give shout outs periodically to people who use the hashtag Dreads Rule. Now, while that was happening parallelly, the comedy game picked up. I started doing comedy. As I told you guys, I went with my friend for the open mic and stuff. And my boss was very supportive of me doing comedy. So he told me, you need to have a brand name. Because Christopher Lazarus is... So he's like, why don't you call yourself Dread Indian? And then, make a page. You have Dreads Rule, Dread Indian. I said, okay, let's begin. And then I started off with that. And then... there were good friends who made the logo for the page, and then everybody like not I don't know I'm that famous, but I was traveling in Mumbai one day and I was in the auto rickshaw, and this guy passed by on the bike, and I don't know what was hanging out. I think one of my dreads was hanging out. He comes right beside me. He's like, "Hey man, Dread Indian," and he gave me a fist bump, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" I didn't get off. I didn't get out of the auto. It's been like half an hour that I was on the highway, and this guy comes right, when there's a lot of traffic right besides me. Hey, maybe just like all Indians, he's very curious to look inside, and then he must have seen me like, oh fuck, I know this guy. I was like, wow, that's great. And a similar thing happened to me when I went to Zurich also a few years back. This girl came, she's like, hey, Dread Indian, feels good. People know you. Like Christopher, yes, but that brand name, like come on, people know Lady Gaga as Lady Gaga. What's her real name?
Yeah.
Makes it easier.
Well, it's great to see things are rolling along for you, and I'm sure it's going to speed up and blast out through the stratosphere.
If it does, then it just it gets better for humanity, right? Because my purpose is to make the whole world laugh. So if I succeed, then the world laughs. So
I love it. And that's wonderful. I'm so happy that you were able to join us today. This was so fun.
Yeah.
Except for holding this mic in my hand like a glass of wine.
Chris, I'm sure our audience would love to see how long your hair is. Can you lift it up and show us?
Yes, definitely. 1 second.
What does 16 years and 7 months look like?
Yes, 1 second.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So yeah, so this is
incredible.
Can you guys see it?
Beautiful.
So this is 16 years, and this is almost. So I was entering. This is actually a joke I do on stage. So I was entering the taxi once, and it was raining quite heavily. So I held my hair like this and entered the taxi. And the taxi driver was like, "Sir, I thought you got a baby goat." Because I was holding it like this.
Is that a normal thing in India to just carrying
a baby goat? No, exactly. So I was like, what is this guy smoking up? And which baby goat looks like this with like multiple legs? It looks like an alien goat. Look at this. This doesn't look like, what is it, man? This is not goat.
Maybe he was on acid or something.
It was not even in Goa. I mean, I would expect, in Goa, these questions. This was Mumbai where people are working hard to survive. And this guy's like, you got a baby goat. I'm like, shut up, just take me home.
Awesome.
So I need 2 chairs when I sit. Like right now, since I'm at home, I know my floor is clean, so I leave my hair on the floor, and I also mop the floor because it's my house, so I have to do that. But generally, I need like 2 chairs, so I keep my hair on the side. That's the thing.
You know that Damian Marley keeps his dreadlocks in a knapsack when he walks around.
The video that he plays football, right? You're talking about that one?
Well,
but
no,
I don't.
Damien, I mean, when he goes on airplanes, when he walks, he's traveling, he carries he protects them in a knapsack.
I was actually thinking of getting like a proper rucksack and doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should. Cool idea.
But then the removing of the hair from the bag and then all of that, you need another person with you.
So you're going to need an entourage to put the dread in the bag.
All you need is the right bag with your branding on it.
True, that also.
Right?
Like the reason I wanted to do this bag thing is not for the airport. Sometimes I just want to go on the street and just walk like a normal person without people staring at me. I just want to, like see, when people have some thoughts in their head, they go for a walk in the park and somebody just walks by and you don't stare at them. Mm-hmm. I cannot walk past people without people staring at me.
Oh yeah.
So I want to have that liberty. So I think I'll only get that liberty when I kind of have a rucksack, put my hair in the bag, and just go for a walk. They're like, okay, this guy is just going somewhere to Goa, I guess, and maybe he has small hair and stuff because the rucksack will take care of everything. So I think I will get the rucksack only to have these peaceful walks in the park.
Yeah.
So you could be sort of undercover or anonymous. People won't.
Yeah, with like proper, like, like proper jacket and stuff, and just walk casually. Like, just be a normal person for once without people looking, hey, look at his hair, look at his hair. Hey, nice. Can you bless me? I don't have kids.
Super cool idea. You got to try it.
Let's see.
So thank you so much, Chris. It's been awesome. And
you guys.
As soon as we book our flights, we'll let you know.
Yes, please do. And before you book your flights, let me know so that I can give you like really cheap hotels to stay at and everything. Like, let me plan your itinerary.
Wonderful.
Completely.
That's great. Listen, I want to do a giveaway, one quick giveaway to our viewers before we sign off. And Brian, like, what do you think? Somebody in the comments, let's shout out a question to Dread Indian, and we'll pick the best question and we'll ask you and we'll post the answer.
Whoever is the first person to write how long I've had my dreads.
I was going to say that's crazy.
Because obviously they will have to pay attention
down to the day and the hour.
Possible, because that will keep changing. So then technically the contest is lost tomorrow because the day will change. So nobody's the winner.
So years and months. Years and months.
Say it again. Should I say it again? I mean, yeah. So 16 years, 7 months, and whoever has paid attention and can write that in the comments will get the giveaway.
The Noggin Oil. That's right. And we're going to send you some Noggin Oil too, Chris. Thank you.
Sweet.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody for listening and watching. It's been a blast. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye, Chris.
Bye.
Eileen, as I always say.
Loctalk. This episode of Loctalk was brought to you by
Noggin Oil, Modlocks, World Hair and Skin.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time.